If last week felt like the country got handed the Wi Fi password and immediately started acting like a bored teenager with Photoshop, yeah, that was the vibe. Because apparently we're doing official government shit posting now. AI penguins marching around Greenland, and then a digitally tweaked arrest photo like the White House is running a low rent troll account. Once the most powerful office in the world starts playing internet games, it's not just cringe, it trains people. It rewards distortion. It makes the judge is biased feel like a normal sentence. So today, Rob and I are pouring bourbon. We're trying to laugh on purpose and watching what this kind of behavior does to reality testing when institutions join the chat. Welcome to Shrink the Nation. Let's go.
This is Shrink the Nation, a podcast for thoughtful, informed adults, preferably holding a drink and definitely holding a thought. The views expressed here are ours alone. They do not represent our employers, institutions, licensing boards, government agencies, bourbon distilleries, or most emphatically, our families. They've been very clear about that. This show is for education and entertainment only. Nothing you hear is medical, psychiatric, legal, or professional advice. We're clinicians, not your clinicians. If something we say stirs you up, that's not a crisis, that's a journal entry, or an email sent politely. We're here to challenge ideas, not diagnose strangers on the internet. And if you are in real distress, please reach out to a professional who can actually help you.
Hey, I'm David. I've got my 20 plus here in the military. I'm a board certified psychiatrist, twice over. And I'm drinking Larceny, small batch. I've got not a whole lot left because I started before you, Rob. And when that runs out, I think I got a couple of beers, stouts, porters that I'm going to dig into because today I'm hell bent on having some fun here doing this.
All right. Yeah, it's Rob. I've got 30 in the military, board certified in psychiatry, 26-ish years there. Speaking of beers, my favorite porter of all time was a very local brew from Montana called Pig's Ass Porter. You couldn't get it in cans. You had to go get like takeout containers from this little hole in the wall microbrewery in the middle of Montana. Delicious. It was like
Pig's
dessert.
ass porter.
Pig's ass porter. It was like dessert in a it was almost like a Chinese takeout container. It was a wax coated thing that they'd fill up for you. And
When you know you have a real problem, you're buying beer in Chinese takeout containers.
yeah, yeah, no doubt. When the trash can was full of them, I realized that I probably should back off. I also realized that I was probably in a sitting consuming somewhere around 8,000 calories in porter, so had to back off that.
It's a lot of exercise.
So today, I thought I would try one of my go-to bourbons of all time was always Jim Beam Black Label. Jim Beam itself doesn't have enough character for me. It's a little on the sweet side, so I don't really like straight Jim Beam. I did like Black Label because it's aged a little longer. And then it disappeared. And in its stead, they rebranded it as Jim Beam Black. I guess maybe it's a little more modern. 7-year aged version of Jim Beam has a little more depth of flavor. It's more of a sipping bourbon, and it's a rye bourbon like Jim Beam is. Lovely bourbon, and also a very comfortable price point.
Very nice. You know, the last several weeks have been dark. We just haven't had much opportunity to laugh a whole bunch on this show, which is really why we're doing it. What drew us into thinking about even doing this was that we would look at these political things and then have a psychological spin on it, but we could always laugh. But in the last couple of months, it's gotten a lot darker and it hasn't been as much fun to do this. Interesting, stimulating conversation, but not as much fun. So today, I wanted to lighten the mood, if you will, maybe drink a little bit more bourbon than we typically do, and maybe just pick a couple of articles that are just kind of odd or weird or whatever. See if we can't find a psychological spin on them as we're looking at them and make something fun for people to listen to. What do you think?
In other words, folks, it was an excuse to day drink after a couple of episodes where alcohol was lacking for various reasons. So, yeah, in advance of the snow apocalypse that is bearing down upon me, I thought, what better way to face my fate than with a belly full of Jim Beam Black and hopefully a couple of laughs on the way.
I came across two things that I think fall into the same kind of theme, but the White House recently posted two different memes. They were both obviously created with AI, but there was one with the commander in chief walking hand in hand with a penguin, and the penguin is holding an American flag, and off in the distance is the flag of Greenland, which I'm now learning what it looks like. I've never known. I've never really cared. But over the last couple of weeks, it's become relevant. So now I know. The other image was not as haha funny, but more kind of grimly weird. They posted a picture of a woman who was arrested in Minnesota during the ICE protests, but they digitally altered her to look significantly worse, like she was crying and really upset. And I'm going to share it with you so that you can see it, Robbie. But this one
Please
is,
do.
it's almost upsetting the length to which they made these edits. And so, what's the angle? We've got arguably the most powerful country on the planet, and the administration is now digitally
Trolling?
altering photos. Yeah, shit posting, I believe is the correct term. Yeah. Why? Why are they doing this? What the fuck? Check out this article. Look at the difference in these pictures. This is actually a somewhat attractive woman that DHS had, the image from DHS, and then the White House image. They actually added neck rolls. They darkened her skin. They
What was she arrested for? Oh, the demonstration that disrupted those church services. Yeah. It's the worst of internet trolling, is what it is. I've noticed this in, I guess, in the world in general. I absolutely blame the internet. I absolutely blame online culture. But we have sort of drifted into this dynamic in which we no longer debate. We go in for the kill. That, as soon as someone disagrees with you, you're immediately wishing death and dismemberment on their mother. This is just ridiculous. What's even more stunning, I'm going to laugh and then actually have a follow-on point, but this is the official website of the White House.
maybe this is the issue. Somebody digitally altering a photo and posting it online, while it's pretty below the belt for somebody to have done this, I would expect this from
Some dark side of Reddit, some deep, dark Reddit
yes, yeah,
sub.
yeah, some 4chan shit poster who's sitting in his mom's basement hating the world because he can't get his dick sucked. But from the official White House, are you kidding me? But so yeah, obviously it's ridiculous. Psychologically though, what is this doing?
What is it doing? Why are they wanting to make this woman look like she's in so much distress and much less attractive than she is? I don't know. So what it immediately reminded me of is a conversation I had with my youngest son this week. So getting ready for school, I'm doing my things, he's eating, and he usually, flips through TikTok while he eats because apparently in today's world you can't do one thing. You have to also watch TikTok constantly while you do it. But so he comes to me and he's like, "This is hilarious." And he shows me this video. And it's a video of a police officer who's arresting a woman. And this woman's handcuffed. And apparently her child was with her when he handcuffed her. And he is psychologically torturing this woman. He is basically threatening to take her child to CPS. I have no idea what this woman was arrested for, but he's threatening to basically take the child away. He's shaming her for being a terrible parent and et cetera, et cetera. And my son is laughing about this. And I paused and I said, what's funny here? And he's like, what he's saying to her. And I'm like, is it? Is that funny? And he's like, no, it's actually pretty horrible, isn't it? I said, yeah, it's freaking horrible. This is horrible. This man who is supposed to be a professional law enforcement officer is psychologically torturing someone for their own purposes. I mean, he was enjoying himself. Why is that funny to you? And he's like, it's not really, but what else am I supposed to do but laugh? And we've desensitized a whole generation to what is appropriate use of power, what is actually funny versus not funny, which our tens of listeners are probably thinking that about us is like, well, you guys think you're funny, but as it turns out,
We're not.
but this reminds me of that. I mean, this is part of that internet culture in which they are flaming this woman for what purpose? I don't know.
Yeah.
Why is the most powerful office in the land feeling like this is something they should do? And I don't have an explanation for you, David. I'm distressed. So much so that I'm taking another drink.
Excellent. All right. Well, maybe it'll become funny as the GABA receptors and the ethanol
Start to
commingle, pull the prefrontal cortex out of this conversation.
Absolutely.
We'll really start to enjoy it. Looking at it, it wasn't a haha funny. This was just weird, grim. It's an odd thing to do, but it goes along with not just a generation being changed in how they view these things, but I think it goes along with the ability to sort of inject non-truths into other people's realities to where they start to believe it. And I'll give you an example. One of the things that I'm noticing and I'm seeing a lot more of lately is this inherent distrust of the judiciary. And I don't just mean the Supreme Court, I mean top to bottom, all the way through. Where in the past, the legal presumption is that the judiciary is competent. That is the legal presumption. Somebody being appointed or being elected to a judge position is competent. And with this administration, especially over this last year, the theme has been if they don't agree with me, they must be biased against me. And that started off with just as the judiciary has ruled against this administration, the administration has come out fighting. And the immediate response is they're biased, they're this, they're that. Well, that doesn't have maybe an immediate effect. What ends up happening over time is that those words start to infiltrate the psyche of a lot of people to the point where now I'm starting to see and hear, even in conferences, all these negative things about these levels of judges that have nothing to do with a political bias. But, oh, the judge is always against this. Oh, the judge is always against that. Well, no, I mean, in the reality, the laws are the laws. The judge is there to follow the laws. The judges don't write the laws. And yet they're being called out as if they're somehow biased against you in this case. And the truth is, that's our legal system. It's adversarial. There's a winner and there's a loser. And sometimes it's not always cut and dry, but it should go with the law and realize the judge has to make the ruling based off of the cases presented and how those align with the law. And there's going to be a loser and there's going to be a winner. But this administration has made it so easy to say, well, if I lose, it's because there's bias against me. When the reality is, no, you presented a shit case and the law didn't go along with it. When you're trying to say that it's legal to do something that's clearly a violation of the Constitution because it's literally written in the fucking Constitution, when you say, well, I don't agree with it, and then you bring up argument in that says, well, I don't agree with the Constitution, and the judge says, yeah, but that's the Constitution. That's not a bias against you, dude. That's just the law.
So is it projection? When you're a dirt bag, do you see dirt baggery all around you?
Yes.
I know. That's what's called a rhetorical question, folks.
When you're trying to manipulate a system in your favor and you can't, then the obvious projection that you're going to have is that the system is obviously being manipulated against you. We're seeing that over and over and over again. There's finding a way to weaponize this on this granular level. And the internet provides this beautiful place for this. Because all of a sudden we say, look at this lady who was arrested during a protest against ICE. Just look at her picture. Nothing about her picture do you look and you go, oh my gosh, there's something terribly wrong. But they manipulate the picture because they want you to feel a certain way. And that is digging at your psyche.
They also made her skin a little darker.
Yeah, they made her a little bit darker. They
did.
made her skin darker.
And that's not racist at all, folks.
By the way, this is not just that this administration does this. And this is something the administration has been doing. But when Mamdani was running for mayor of New York, his opponents, who were mostly Democrats, they were actually sending out pictures of him with darker skin and a longer beard than he actually has. It's not new, and it's not only this administration. It's just that I think we expect a bit more from, as you said, the highest office in the land. It's disturbing. I think what bothers me as a psychiatrist is that it works. It's that the more that this thing happens, the more that this is done, the more that people are actually impacted by it. But now everything that happens that doesn't go along with the administration is, well, it's not fair, it's biased, it's cheating, it's all these things. And I just really wonder, is it all projection or is it a plan?
Jung would say everything is projection. And I really do not have much faith in this administration, their psychological health. So if anyone's at risk of projecting, I have the sense that they are. And yes, I think they're projecting. I also think they're at their core, they're bullies, and they're doing what bullies do, and they're trolling. They're internet trolling. And what irritates me about internet trolling is that it is usually individuals who have no actual sense of courage in the real world. So no real courage. They're doing it over the internet. They're doing it over the interwebs protect them, and they can do any damn thing they want, to include being stupid, like saying there are penguins in
What I'm
Greenland.
talking about, Leslie Stahl from 60 Minutes had said that Trump had told her.
Dave's been drinking a little bit, folks.
So this was an informal off-camera meeting with Leslie Stahl that Trump had in July of 2016, where he said to discredit you all and demean you all, so when you write negative stories about me, no one will believe you. And that was his plan,
Yep.
to attack the press. Now,
Good plan.
this isn't the
Good
first
plan.
time in history. No, it is a great plan. Actually, it's a great plan that's worked incredibly well for a lot of.
Remarkable.
It's worked well in other countries. It's worked well for Erdogan. It's worked well for Orban. That's just, if you attack the free press and say that they're all against you, then people won't believe it. And where else are they going to get their information from?
Oh, hell. The world's going to hell in a handbasket, and we're just along for the ride.
But at least we got bourbon.
Right up until the supplies run out.
Well, that's true.
That's why
And
I'm
then it won't
buying
be
in
worth.
bulk now. I buy in
That's
bulk
the
now.
Yeah, that's the reason why. Not because you're an alcoholic. All right.
Well, that's the secondary reason.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. Anyway, you expect me to parent my kids sober? The fuck.
Can I tolerate this shit sober? Come on. God
So,
damn.
all right. Now, admittedly, that particular article took a dark turn, as they seem to, Rob. What the fuck is wrong? What's wrong with the world, or what's wrong with us? I'm starting to wonder if it's us.
You and
'Cause
me
it
or
might
us
be.
as in people?
No, I mean you and me. I think as we pull these kind of goofy little news articles, and then it just fucking turns into. Bah.
Oh.
Okay, so the first article that we mentioned, but we didn't talk about, is the Trump holding the hand of a penguin. The penguin is carrying a flag. It's supposed to be in Greenland because there's a Greenland flag. Does the White House know that there are no penguins naturally in the Northern Hemisphere?
Well, obviously they don't. Obviously, somebody has the Santa Claus view of the Arctic, because usually in depictions of the North Pole, there are penguins, but they're not. They're Southern
They're
Hemisphere. They
cartoon
only
penguins, though. They're
they're
claymation is the problem.
well.
Hey, buddy.
There's an element,
Hope you find your dad.
right? I like smiling. Smiling is my favorite,
That was a
right?
narwhal, but
But the penguin was standing there watching.
there was a
Yeah,
fucking penguin. Yeah.
apparently, I don't know. They didn't go to
So
school.
what's the psychological perspective of moving a penguin? And this meme is now being called the nihilistic penguin meme. What's the psychological
It should be the
aspect of?
non-existent penguin meme is what it should be. They don't exist there.
They
What's
don't.
the
They don't.
again? It's trolling. He is trolling. I mean, it's just trolling. It's just
Do you think the people of Greenland would want to be taken over if they got penguins? Maybe he'll
Maybe.
bring penguins.
maybe
They
or
seem
or
like they
maybe
probably smell bad. Have you ever been to the penguin exhibit at SeaWorld? It fucking
it
reeks.
smells terrible. Although, I mean, maybe he just brings a bunch of tuxedos and that'll do the job. I don't know.
I think he offered everyone there 500 grand a piece for
Person?
like 57. Yes, $500,000 per person to agree to become part of the United States. And I
Wow.
believe the response to that was, at least from the Denmark government, was there's no way those people are going to give up their socialized medicine for any amount of money to become part of the United States.
I'm willing to immigrate to Greenland to get that $500,000 right now. I'm going out on a limb
Yeah.
here.
You'd go?
I will go to Greenland to get that 500
Well,
grand.
I thought about that myself, but then I
Take a couple
wondered
years
if they
off.
were gonna. Well, I figured the problem with it would be that they'd probably implement the same rules that they did with the whole no taxes on tips. Was that with that rule that was brought up during campaign season, everyone thought, well, then I should just convert all of my income to tips and it'll all be tax free. But as it turns out, no, not really, because you had to have been working in a job that was tip based, and then there was a cap on the amount that was tax free. So it really wasn't all tips are tax free. So I would imagine that maybe they'd probably put the whole loophole on, well, if you haven't been living in Greenland for the last decade or whatever, you're probably not going to get the 500 grand. So you might just be moving there to move there. And it seems like a stretch.
Ultimately, that's not a bad tactic, though. I mean, bribe them. Why not? That's the one piece that has been lost in this, is that these are sovereign individuals. They have the right to self-determination. So narrowing it down to a discussion, not a discussion. It's not a discussion. There's no discussion. Discussion implies logic, reason. What it is our administration yelling at Denmark and Denmark saying no. And really, in between that is a group of individuals who live in a nation that they identify with and they have self determination. It's a democratic nation. No one's asked them, what do you want? It's become what the administration wants and what Denmark says. But these people deserve their own destinies. And they exist in their own hands. So it's a pretty good tactic. Bribe them. Give them half a
Yeah.
mil each, which seems pretty expensive to me. I don't know what the population of Greenland is. Do you know that?
Yeah, about 57,000, I think.
Is that all? The entire all
It's
of Greenland.
Remember, Greenland was
Hey,
named Greenland and Iceland was named Iceland in order to confuse people about which one was actually the nicer place to go. So I don't know how much of Greenland is
is
actually
green?
habitable. Yeah.
Not much.
Now,
Not much.
if I were them,
I know.
if I were those people, I might hearken back to January to June of 1980 when a certain person who shall go unnamed had gotten a whole bunch of Polish immigrants to do some demolition of a building, promised them money, and then once the work was done, had basically threatened to call the INS. I might harken back to that. That's kind of the flavor that it has. Hey, I'll give you $500,000 to join my country, and then once you've given up all your rights and everything, be like, nah, just never mind. Just
Yeah,
kidding.
past behavior does tend to follow one into the future. So, as we say in our line of work, past behavior is the best predictor of future behavior.
It is.
Yeah, when you behave untrustworthy, it is difficult to engender trust in the future.
Yes. Agreed. So, what we've learned from this is that there are no penguins in Greenland or naturally anywhere north of the equator.
And the White House likes to
And
shit talk.
and the shit posting has been plentiful. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we've learned. To our tens of listeners, are you smarter right now? No, you're not. You're not. These are things you knew.
Grab
But
a bourbon and enjoy it with us.
yep,
Just enjoy it.
we're highlighting them, underlining them, probably putting them in bold and italics. There we are. That's where we are right now.
So, to take the angle of humor, the AP News did report on a group of pro Greenland protesters who decided to mock MAGA, the slogan, by wearing capes that say "Make America Go Away." Which I
I'm pulling my son right now. I'm laughing about something that really is not funny. Really what I'm laughing about, because I can't do anything about it, is the damage that is being done to our reputation, to our relationships, to our future. And gaining this back, not to turn it dark, and believe me, at this point my GABA receptors are nicely saturated. So all I really want to do
Speaking of which,
is laugh and say really off collar things. Oh my gosh, to the audience, a fully empty bottle of larceny. I
we're
mean,
working
fully.
fully empty.
We're working for you. We're working for you, in the audience here.
I do
Our
this for
tens
the
of
tens of
listeners.
listeners.
Yeah, exactly. But what really is distressing is that we have 70 years, or actually more than that. I mean, we go back to 1940, I guess, or 41, in which we have been a stabilizing force in the world. We have been predictable. We have consistently shown our values, and people came to count on that. Other nations came to count on that. And we are now at a point in our history which we are acting counter to our historic values. We are no longer a stabilizing force. We are the destabilizing force. And we're the destabilizing force that no one can counter. And one of the ways that we always were able to offset the fact that we were so much more powerful than other nations was that we were predictable, that we were typically a force for good. We weren't maybe 100% on that, but in general, we could be predicted. Nations knew what we were going to do. When we made changes, we did them in a thoughtful fashion. We didn't say inflammatory things. We didn't make inflammatory threats. And now all of a sudden, we have altered our approach and we are now unpredictable. We are now a potential threat. Actually, interestingly, we're more of a threat to our allies than we are to our adversaries at this point. And this is the kind of damage that resonates throughout time and throughout history. It is going to be challenging to regain this because what the world knows, I mean, the next administration will come, hopefully, and our allies will now know that the stability of the United States is contingent upon whoever is president. And historically, there was a stability that existed regardless of who was president. And it's now changed. And they know that they can't count on anything, that in a 4-year span, everything can change. And that's destabilizing. The funny things about stability is stability tends to breed instability. And we're going to reap this as time passes on. It's going to come back to haunt us. And we're going to then remember why stability counted so much, why it was so important. I'll be a really old man, so I'll just sit back and drink.
Okay, so here's the only thing, I guess. I don't see it that way to that extent.
I mean, you're
I hear
you're
what you're saying,
but I still
and
think you're
you
full of
could
shit.
no, and maybe I am, but psychological, like, and hit me with what's
No.
wrong with my brain and this, because maybe all of our listeners need to
Good
hear it.
lord.
But here's
Do you want
here's
that
what
in
hold
bulleted
on. No,
points?
yeah, not
What's
yet,
wrong
not
with
yet.
your brain?
Let me
I
let
mean,
me
where should I
say,
start?
so hold on. Keep your notes
I
to
will.
yourself there,
I will.
young.
I will. I will.
Not yet. No, I guess the thing that I see differently about than what you're saying is I want to say that the particular administration is such an anomaly to what typical American politics is. The way that I view this is that this is a large system, this experiment that is democracy, and the 250 years of experimentation have not been perfect. I mean, but considering the fact that this was established 250 years ago, and the assumptions made weren't based off of the ability for the person in charge to greenlight a shitpost about a penguin existing where penguins do not exist. But because the system is so big, and the way that I see it, and if anybody is subscribed to our YouTube, please do. We have a video coming out about this. This system is large. And so while we're seeing the conductor of the train trying to derail this whole thing, the conductor alone can't do that. We're getting the movement, we're getting the loud noise, we're getting all of that. But I think by the time we pull into the next station, it will be very obvious what needs to be corrected. All of the changes that we need to make within this system to make sure this doesn't happen again. Because this is very different than any other presidency that we've ever had, including his first presidency until about January 6th. At that point, I think we kind of saw what we were going to see. The mistakes that were made over the last 4 years between presidencies was the inability or unwillingness to patch up the weak spots. And I think it's going to be very clear that it needs to be patched. But from the perspective of the entire world, I don't know. I still live in this world, and maybe I'll feel totally different 6 months down the line, or 2 years down the line, or at the tail end of this, depending on how that election is going. But the way that I see this is the next president's got to come in, whoever it is. I don't care if they're Republican or Democrat or fucking a Smurf. Papa Smurf himself could come in, and he needs to
No,
go in,
no, it's gonna be Smurfette.
needs to come in, and to our allies be like, come on, that wasn't us. That was a mistake. We were drinking heavily in those days. We just lost our way.
Oh
And
God.
and now it's gonna take time to earn it back, right? Like we're gonna have to, but we can fix this. This can be fixed. It's just we're not gonna fix it right now. But you and I have looked at this for the last year. We've been talking about it for the last 6+ months. And for the last 2 months, it has been so clear that the fucking wheels are coming off this. I don't know if any of our tens of listeners have actually listened to a speech made by this president.
Probably not.
No,
It is.
probably not. But it's incoherent.
Our anxiety can't tolerate sitting through these speeches, actually. I can't. I try. I really try.
But it's incoherent. He was talking about Iceland, for Christ's sakes. I mean, the man was talking about how we need Iceland so bad. It's just, what the fuck? Right. And I'm laughing because if you're not laughing, you're crying, I think,
We've got
is what your
Iceland.
son meant. No, no
Well,
shit.
that
I mean, we have
we
Greenland. We have Greenland. We can say we don't need Greenland for defense. We can put whatever the fuck we want there.
absolutely. Not now. Not now. They're not gonna let us send a bunch of troops in there now.
There's no coherent explanation for why we need Greenland. It has nothing to do with defense. It has everything to do with ego. This reminds me, I'm sorry if this is an obscure reference, but when Stephen Ross, the owner of the Miami Dolphins, he's 85 years old. When he was introducing the new head coach of the Miami Dolphins just this week, he fucking forgot his name because he's 85 years old. He just forgot his name. He hired the guy to be his head coach. He couldn't remember his name. But this is what we're seeing. We're seeing an
What did he
old man.
reference him as? Todd? Oh, I hired a guy named Todd, I think. Todd's the most generic name you can it's just a
I think it's
Todd.
Rob. I think Rob is the most generic. Actually, David is one of those names that
David's
everyone
pretty
fucking
fucking
has.
generic. David's pretty fucking generic. No, I hear you. I hear you, but I think you're forgetting that the most effective form of conditioning is the inconsistent conditioning. So, if it's
Yes.
predictable,
You're talking about the slot machine. Like if you pull the slot machine and every once in a while it hits, which it is actually, if you're using a slot machine in most legal places, the government says you have to pay out like 80 cents per dollar. But every once in a while it has to hit.
we're just
But
losing, by the way, folks. Right. You're
it
losing
has to
20
hit.
cents per dollar.
Exactly. But it has to hit every once in a while. It's that random act of hit that brings you back. Because if you knew when it was going to hit, you would just play till it hits. But the fact that you don't know when, that's what you're describing.
Sorry, I just sucked down a good portion of bourbon down my lungs. Pardon me.
So Stephen Ross, when he was introducing Jeff Happily, he started praising his hire. Then he paused for several seconds. And then he had to look down at his notes and then was like, Jeff. He fucking forgot his name.
It's not Todd. It's
This is
Jeff.
why we don't let 85-year-old men run organizations. And if we were modeling the United States after the success of the Miami Dolphins, fucking fantastic. We are going to suck because they suck. I'm sorry. I'm sorry,
Well,
everybody who's a Miami Dolphins fan, all four of you, of our tens of listeners, but they suck. They suck, and you know they suck.
Jeff was my second guess. However, here's my counter
That's his
argument.
fucking name. His name is Jeff.
Yeah, and that was my second because that's it's either Todd or Jeff, and
Hey, they'd be lucky to get Todd Haley. He's an amazing coach. They should fucking
just
hire Todd Haley.
any random Todd, any random Jeff, and the worst. And the Family Guy taught us this: the worst name in the English language is Keith. Family Guy taught us this. There's a whole episode dedicated to it. At any
His
rate,
I doesn't come before E.
here is the problem. The problem is that the Western world has banked their future, their stability on our consistency. And what we have taught them is that they can't do that. You're right. The next administration is going to come in and hopefully they're going to attempt to repair these connections. But when you're a child, and I don't want to infantilize the nations of the world, but when you're in a position in which your stability is tied to a more powerful individual, you really do learn very quickly that no matter how much consistency, an episode of inconsistency is going to alter you permanently. And I do believe our relationships with these nations have been altered permanently. They realize they can't entirely count on us any longer because each and every, you all right, buddy?
No, I'm pissed at you, you fucker. No, you're right, and I agree with you.
Oh, oh, well, hell. Well, hell.
No,
Hey,
you piece
everybody,
of
I'm
shit.
right.
No, you're right, and no, it's upsetting. What's upsetting to me is that
He
you're
almost
absolutely
fell
right.
out of his chair, folks.
You're absolutely right. No, that's the bourbon, not you. Fuck it. No, no, you're right, and it's upsetting. It's upsetting because I don't
70
know that the
years
next
of normal order has been completely and utterly destabilized and
turn on its head. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
said
that's
it.
their bourbon, and
I was
it's Appalachian bourbon, locally changed. No, you're
yeah,
right,
yeah, yeah.
and it's upsetting. It pisses me off. No, because I
Pisses me
as
off.
much as I was trying to live in that world of And that's what I was asking, what's wrong with me? No, I was living in the world of, yeah, the next person can come in and fix this. I don't know that they can, but in all fairness, I mean, this is like those other countries, not to infantilize them, but the other countries absolutely were living in the shadow of the United States because the United States was incredibly successful, and we gained a lot of benefit from that. Economically, we were doing amazing, in spite of the fact that
Absolutely.
we weren't producing a lot of physical things. We produced a lot of tech, but we were winning economically because we were in control. But when you have an administration that comes in and has this quote unquote America First agenda that actually destabilizes the entire system, what you do is you empower all of our allies and everybody else in the system to realize that they can't rely upon us to be the ones in charge. And so, what they're doing right now and what they've promised to do is to beef up their defense and to change who they're going to be economically dependent upon, which is going to be themselves. Our America First agenda has actually turned out to embolden the European economy because they're going to try to be less dependent upon us. And as it turns out, we don't produce as much as they would like us to produce.
No,
So the problem that I see is that, yes, we are going to be in a precarious position. I've grown up in a system, and so have you, where English and the US dollar were the two most powerful things. And what we're going to probably see is that that will change over time. And it is absolutely because a complete mismanagement of this system. If we were looking at this like Star Wars, we were the imperialists, right? Like we were not the rebels. We ran everything. And everyone ran through us, and it was good because we were benevolent leaders. We were good to everyone else. We took care of things. We quietly took out dissent,
we were good parents.
but we've come in and we become shitty parents. And the children are deciding that, well, maybe they need to be more responsible for themselves. So what have we done by
Fuck
going
those guys.
by making America great again? What we've actually done is we have empowered the rest of the world to realize that we aren't reliable.
What we have relearned,
Fuck you, Robbie. Fuck you.
we have relearned a lesson of
God damn it.
history.
Glad
And
I'm
well,
learning French.
history has taught us this, but as is often said, if you fail to learn history, you're doomed to repeat it. But history has taught us this, that when we have become overly sensitive, overly focused on ourselves, it actually is contra to ourselves. That expanding ourselves, being engaged in the world, being that benevolent parent is actually what is best for us. And if we try to come internally, if we focus internally, it doesn't work well for us. And we're going to reap those things for years to come, years. And the only way we can reverse course is if we can establish this next administration. And David actually said four reallys a few minutes ago. Really, 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 really. So if which I mean, I think it's logarithmic that when you each really was a power of 10. But we are going to have to do this for decades. I mean, decades will be required to forget this little blip in history. And we're also tied. And it's fascinating to me. All we started with was a fucking penguin. That's what we started with. A fucking
We
penguin.
did.
We
No, I
started with a
agree.
penguin, and now we're 60
We've
minutes into this or
well, I
whatever.
think what we're doing is what we're empowering Europe to realize that they need to do this without us. And any good parent will help their children to surpass them and do a bit better, which is what we're doing. So good for us. We're, pat on the
Well,
back. We had a pretty sweet thing going. When the world's economy is based off of your money, you get special treatment, and we've really liked it.
fuck, you made me lose my goddamn thought.
Yeah, well, you're old too. You and Trump are old.
We are. We are. We're not quite we're not quite in the same age group, but we're close. Well, no, we're not. We're not.
No, you're
We're
not
not.
close at all. You're
No.
not close at all.
No. No, we're not.
You had 25 years between you.
Yeah, maybe a little more. However,
Oh, you're right. No, you're right. You're right. No, you did the math better than I. You're right. 30 years apart.
I had a cogent thought that might or might not come back to me, but keep talking. My
I still have a full glass of bourbon here, and I'm hellbent to finish it before we
All
finish.
right,
So,
let's make a shift. I'd like to touch on the fact that I'm seeing a ton of media pointed to this Melania Trump. I'm going to call it a biopic. I don't think it really is, but it is
It's not.
some sort
No,
of
it's not really a biopic.
movie, and it is a movie. It's going to be released that is dedicated to Melania Trump. I believe her history up to the present. What's your thoughts about it?
Well, okay, so what I know about it, it's being actively pushed for promotion by the administration, and it was licensed by MGM Studios. And the opener is going to be the new name is something like the Donald Trump Kennedy Center for the Arts or something. So my guess is that it's not going to be a biopic. That would be my guess. It's a little bit more flattering of a picture than what one might expect because it's being pushed as a good thing by the administration. I honestly, when I first heard about it, I was like, "Oh, the administration's going to be pissed. They're going to be so mad to hear about this movie." No, it turns out it's actually quite flattering for Melania. Yeah, this is going to be. I don't know. It sounds. If I
It's
had to
self
use a word, Robbie, I would use propaganda.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. So it is self-driven. This is not an external thing. Clearly, she was involved in this. Why now? What's the purpose at this point? And I know I'm dropping a bomb in your lap, but just tell me what your thoughts are.
The timing of it is probably has more to do with just the fact that this is the amount of time it takes to edit and get everything ready and all that. Why now? Well, the administration's taking licks, man. We've been noting it for the last several months. Honestly, I would be so happy at this point if a Democrat would go out there and do something so ridiculously stupid that we could talk about it. It's
Uh,
just not happening. It's just not happening. We're not getting actual news that's coming out about the other side. What we're getting is this administration desperately trying to get other people to agree that these moves that have been incredibly unpopular with time are good things. And so, no, I mean, it's propaganda. I mean, I don't know. I mean, am I going
well,
to see it? Probably not.
well,
So I can't
and
really comment.
And to our tens of listeners, believe me, what David just said is absolutely correct. I mean, each week we really are striving to achieve some kind of balance. It's just that the nature of current activities is that we can't.
Democrats are laying low, man. I mean, they're
Well,
playing a game of let's just quiet. Now, they don't have a lot of power, but there are a lot of Democratic governors. They're out there, but they're just feeding off of this administration's shortcomings and misgivings. Their missteps are feeding into power.
I said this last episode. James Carville says when the other side's messing up, don't get in their way. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now, which is exactly why we are so focused on one side versus the other. It never was our intent, never was the design of the show. But with this biopic, it does feel like an exercise in narcissism. I don't think there's going to be anything just based on the fact that it's being advertised the way it's being advertised, based on the fact that it's an approved thing. This is not like, we did this undercover, we did this without knowledge, we're putting this out. She participated in this and ostensibly agreed with each element. But
Yeah.
she's an interesting first lady.
This is We Are Charlie Kirk all over again, just with a lot more money and a lot more hoopla.
Yeah, and she's an interesting first lady that, and historically, his first ladies have been very involved in lots of things. She is not. She has not really been involved. She doesn't have, like Michelle Obama. We'll use her. So Michelle Obama was, and it's tough to be a first lady. I mean, it's a hard
Rob
thing.
would know. Rob would know. He's spent a lot
Yeah,
of time as the first lady and
I
a
have.
lady in general.
Uh,
Your penis is talking really loud right now.
uh, um,
Mansplain being a first lady for our tens of listeners. Hopefully, Allison is listening and she is just a fucking livid.
Yeah, I'm sure she is. But yeah, being a first lady is tough because you're put in a weird position. You've got to do something. It can't be contra to the administration, but
Which is really
Melania.
hard when your administration is very anti-immigration and your first lady is very much an immigrant.
Yeah, you can't
I
hide her
I imagine
accent,
she
can you?
spends most of her day trying to avoid Stephen Miller. Like, she's probably just running around the office as he's looking for
Dude,
her.
can you come up with a single person in that administration that doesn't spend their day trying to avoid Stephen Miller? I mean, honestly.
Fucking touche. Touche, Rob.
At any rate, this does seem to be a weird, and I'm going to use the word weird because this at this moment in time to release this, it does feel weird to me that she's trying to garner some kind of, I mean, I have to assume because she has been involved and she's approved every step of this that it's some goal of achieving an increase in her public acceptance, which in general could be achieved by doing stuff, being involved, being engaged. But she's been held out because the traditional things that first ladies do would run counter to what the president has done. And, I'm curious, if anyone pays to go see this movie, I'm
A
going
lot
to
of
be
people will pay to go
surprised.
see this movie.
You
No,
think?
people will pay to see it. Yeah, fuck yeah. 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 Will I pay to see the movie? No. Will
Who's going
a
to
lot
pay?
of people
Who's a
MAGA,
lot?
MAGA, neocon MAGA will go and watch this movie. And I mean,
I don't think they even
remember
will. I don't think they give a
okay, so
shit.
what no, they fucking do. They'll watch the shit out of this. They will lap this up. No, they will. Full confession. To this day, I've never seen the movie Titanic. And partly
What
was
the
because,
hell?
yeah, I was in 7th grade when Titanic came out, and there
God, I'm
were
old.
people in my class who had bragged about seeing it like 8, 9, 10 times. And I
Yeah.
swore I would never see it. I have a feeling that the MAGA neocon crowd will absolutely see this movie, and they will see it more than once. They will buy it on Amazon Prime. It cost 40 million to make. They'll make that back. They'll make it back.
I don't think they will.
No, I think they will. We have tens of listeners because we talk about a very niche topic,
No
but there
shit.
were 70 million people who voted for this to happen. And I'm willing to bet even half of them, half of that crowd will willingly watch this movie.
It's not
Oh,
gonna be
yeah.
half. No.
We should have a bet, open bet right here,
Open
right
bet,
now.
open bet. Tens of listeners, Dave and I are betting. I think that the idea that we'll say 35 million people have any interest in Melania Trump is false. David, on the other hand, who's, I'm going to go out on a limb here and is an admitted jackass and moron, thinks that more than 35 million. So really
At
I'm
least 35 million people
what I'm
will
asking of
no, I will say, I believe that they will earn their money back and then some.
Well, what I'm asking of our tens of listeners
40
is
million.
don't watch this because you don't want David to win. No one likes David. I mean, let's face it.
Right.
No one
They
likes
they they
David.
don't make $200 from our tens of listeners, but I am willing to bet. I'm willing to bet at this point, Robbie, that our tens of listeners are not MAGA because we've not been
Probably
supportive
not.
of MAGA. And
No,
the
we've
truth is, it's not about MAGA. I mean, Democrat,
well,
Republican, MAGA is not the same. It's just not. It's not in the same category. It's not the same thing.
it's really
It's
not.
a weird
You know,
hybrid of
it's a
bowing
call to
down to Donald Trump.
personality. Call to personality, and we can't buy into it, and we'll leave it at that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we have definitely not accomplished whatever we were trying to with this episode, which was to inject some humor.
I laughed. I
I
laughed.
did have more fun. Anyway, I thank everyone who decided to stick around. Thank you so much. Hit up our YouTube. We're trying to be a little bit more active there. See if we can get some content that's useful or interesting. And I think that's it. Thoughts, Robbie?
I concur with you. Check out the YouTube. We are putting some effort in that zone. Do it, like it, share it, drink bourbon.
Till next time, cue up that music. We're out.